Our producer, Frank J. Mazzio III, just reminded me that this area of New Jersey is currently experiencing wind gusts of up to 55 miles per hour. Gusts of that magnitude mean that planes coming into Newark, about 40 miles north, are going to be delayed. So if you're waiting for somebody, heads up on that. And they also can mean that power lines are down. So if our lights flicker, don't be alarmed. We'll convert right over to backup power and continue the broadcast. Here's some interesting economic news. U.S. retailers saw their largest increase in sales in more than a year during the month of January, signaling a strong rebound after 6 straight months of sharp decline. The U.S. Commerce Department reported this information this morning, saying that retail sales increased 1% on a seasonally adjusted basis. Economists had been predicting a decline of 0.4%. Retail sales account for about half of consumer spending. And some other economic news that came out this morning, the number of people requesting first-time unemployment benefits dipped a little bit last week, but still remains near a 26-year high. The Commerce Department said that the number of initial jobless claims dropped to an adjusted 623,000 from an upwardly revised figure of 631,000 the previous week. The 623,000 figure is still above the expectations of analysts who have been predicting 610,000. And last night, about 500 miles over Siberia, 2 big communication satellites collided in the first ever crash of its type in orbit. They shot out a pair of massive debris fields, and they do now pose a slight risk to the International Space Station. NASA is examining this. An orbital debris scientist at NASA said, "We knew this was going to happen eventually, but we believe that any risk to the space station and its 3 astronauts who are currently in residence is low." The space station orbits about 270 miles below the collision course of the debris field. A spokesman for the Russian Civilian Space Agency said that for the International Space Station at this time and in the near future, there's no threat. The collision involved an Iridium commercial satellite launched in the U.S. in 1997, and a Russian satellite launched in 1993 that was believed to be non-functioning. It was out of control. The Iridium satellite weighed 1,200 pounds, and the Russian craft weighed nearly a ton. Sainsbury's Car Insurance in England has estimated that the UK insurance industry received 45,000 auto insurance claims due to the accidents last week with the heavy snow that was seen in England. Claims total approximately £63 million. This, according to the Sainsbury, this is a 45% rise in the number of claims during the corresponding week last year. A spokesperson for Sainsbury says last week was one of the busiest weeks we can remember for car insurance claims. Drivers in this country are not particularly familiar with driving in snow. If more severe weather arrives, we'd advise people to only make essential journeys. Aside from the danger to themselves and other road users, drivers could be putting themselves at extra risk of losing their no claims bonus. By all means, stay home. And last night and early this morning, there's been a series of seismic events. We'll pull the chart up. Here we go. Keep this up for a bit. You'll notice the red dot on the lower left, and behind it is a fairly large square. That's a 7.2 earthquake that struck off of Sulawesi Island in Indonesia. It didn't cause any damage. The 2 orange squares behind it represent aftershocks, one of 6.2 and one of 5.5. A tsunami alert was triggered but was subsequently canceled. I will correct this. 500 buildings were damaged with that big one, the 7.2, and 42 people were injured, 10 of them seriously. A little bit further to the north, northeast actually, you see another red box. That's a 5.5 earthquake that occurred approximately 165 miles southwest of Guam. There have been no reports of any damage or injuries on that one. And then further north, off the northern tip of Hokkaido, To the northeast, you see two earthquakes. Both of them were 5.0 on the Richter scale. They occurred late last night. They did not include any damage or injuries, nor did they cause any tsunamis. So there's a reason that they call that area the Ring of Fire. The stock market is still down about 140 points. The conference committee between the House and the Senate last night announced that they've reached an agreement. So presumably the two houses will vote on the conference committee report perhaps as early as tomorrow. So it's expected that the president will have an opportunity to sign the stimulus bill, which is now at $790 billion sometime next week. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. If not, thank you for watching.